Boro deservedly beat a dreadful QPR side and for once actually took advantage of results around us going our way. What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Another episode of the Project Boro reviewing show where we of course review every single Boro game here on the channel. And Boro, thank God, found a way to beat Queen's Park Rangers at the Riverside tonight by 2-1 in a game where I think once again, in a similar vein to Derby and Stoke, which we've had in our last three, of course, Boro played a team who, quite honestly, were extremely poor. We played a very, very poor side tonight, a side who barely troubled Boro, and a side to which it would have been utterly criminal had Boro not come away with the 3 points. But a bit like Derby, a bit like Stoke, you could say, in a very similar mould to each of them victories. Boro weren't at their swashbuckling best tonight, but we found a way to win. We got the 3 points. We beat a side we should have. And I guess, especially in this game, with the way it sort of went towards the end, we didn't find a way to chuck the victory down the toilet, which we have done many, many times this season. So, were Boro good? Yes, I would say we were. Could we have been better? Yes. I do think this was an improved performance on the Derby victory we had a couple of weeks ago, but we almost found a way of dropping 2 points at the same time. So I'm just relieved that Boro found a way to win. We deservedly got the result that we absolutely deserved and warranted, I think, from the chances we created and how we played. And, well, unbelievably, just down to the craziness of this league, just like that, with a crazy round of results going pretty much every way Boro would like them to, suddenly that horrible carrot starts to dangle in front of us again. That temptation, that word that begins with P that I will not utter, is once again back in view somehow. I just cannot believe the inconsistency of the whole pack of teams chasing said P word. That just, yeah, even with Boro's terrible form, the window is still open. The door is still open, ajar for Boro to potentially have an outside chance. But as I've said many, many times, as I sort of said in a video I did last week, we're in a spell of 4 games where Boro have to win 3 of the 4 just to make them final 7 games easy. There will be tougher tests to come, much tougher teams coming to the Riverside, and we've got some really tough away trips to come as well. So we still need to find a degree of consistency that we've still not seen from this Boro team. We still need to see things that there's no proof of it happening as yet. We still are remaining more hopeful than expectant that we're going to put the necessary run of games together in order to compete for said P word. But, you know, splitting it up, we've got 4 games which are all winnable. I said I'd be happy if we won 3 of the 4. We've won 1 of them now, lost the other to Swansea. I think for me, I won't be getting too excited or thinking too far ahead until I see what happens at the weekend against Luton, and then what happens after the international break against Oxford, because the run-in Boro have is extremely difficult and there will be far tougher tests to come. So this is a positive step. It's especially given Boro's defensive injury crisis. It's a huge win for us at home as well. Always important when you've gone through a run as bad as what we have. And results have gone our way, so we can't really complain all that much. But as I'm sure a lot of you will understand, we've been here so many times with Boro, it's completely understandable why there is absolutely no trust or faith in this team at the moment, and you cannot get too excited over any kind of victory until you see what follows it, and we still don't know what might follow it. There's still just as every chance we could go to Luton at the weekend, play amazing and win, play dreadful and lose. We just don't know. But I think all you can do with Boro at the moment is take it game by game, on a game-by-game basis, and just see where the hell we end up. But the main thing is, at home, we didn't follow the Swansea win with another dismal result, and we've banished it. And hopefully we can, you know, in hindsight, in the longer term, make that Swansea defeat look more like a blip rather than a continuation of just a really torrid run of form that Boro have seemingly been in for a very, very long time now. So a big result, a positive one, and one that has certainly helped Boro's league position look a lot better thanks to the teams around us. So, starting with the lineup then, It was a similar-ish lineup to pretty much what we were expecting. There was one difference in the forward line, which I thought might happen. I suspected could have happened. We had the only back five that we expected or we could field, if we're absolutely honest. Mark Travers in goal, of course. And then a back four like any other, with Dijksteel, Howson, Borges and Illing Jr. in defence. Hackney and Morris were in the midfield, of course, with a front three. I did wonder if it was going to be Bergzorg with Azaz, Whittaker, Force maybe. But no, he started Kelechi Iheanacho, which was a surprise. He played in the 10. I don't quite know why FootMob's got Conway and Iheanacho the wrong way around. But yeah, he started Iheanacho, which I was a little bit sceptical of. Dropped Morgan Whittaker. Also dropped Marcus Force as well, with Bergzorg coming in on the right-hand side. And I thought the game started off a bit 50-50. I thought they had a few slight openings in the first 10 minutes or so. Boro, a little bit the same. It was, to in and froing for the first sort of 10 minutes of the first half. But then I think Boro really, really got a grip of the game after that. And we managed to get ourselves in front pretty quickly through Tommy Conway. It come from some great play from Hayden Hackney, actually. QPR were really, really poor in possession. They were dreadful. The quality of this QPR side was really, really disappointing. They were trying to play it up to Frey, which I thought they would. Him being that big physical presence up front, I really did think they'd try and get him up against Borges and Howson a lot and play off him. And although they did a little bit, they sort of played to him more along the floor, not as much height-wise as I expected them to. The quality around Frey was just extremely poor, especially down either of the wings. And, heavy touches like what led to the goal summed up QPR really and what they were like in possession. Fair play to Hayden Hackney. He absolutely launched himself into a 50-50. The sort of challenge that we don't see enough from Boro's midfield players, but he really threw himself at it, committed to it, come out with the ball, and then he had the wherewithal of to stand up, playing Finn Azaz, who made a good run down that left side channel. And as we've seen with Finn Azaz many times, when given the time and space, he can pick his head up and pick out a ball. It was a perfect cross into the path of Tommy Conway, who had a simple tap-in past the goalkeeper. And Boro got off to the perfect start, because this is one of them games where the longer it goes on, the more frustration could grow. Although, I will be honest, I thought the atmosphere was probably as dead as I've ever seen it this season at the Riverside. I mean, it was the definition of apathy in the ground. There was barely anybody there. There was a lot of empty seats compared to other games that we've seen this season. Atmosphere was extremely flat. Crowd weren't as reactive one way or the other. It very much felt like the sort of crowd that had just lost all hope and faith. And I guess we're sat there without expectancy, sort of waiting for Boro to show them something, and thankfully in the first 10 minutes we did, by getting ourselves in front. And my only complaint about the rest of the first half really is that Boro didn't make it more than 1-0, because we really had opportunities to do so, and we should have at least been 2 or 3 up before the half-time whistle went. We had a couple of opportunities. Hayden Hackney had a few chances. He had a chance just inside the box when he latched onto a deflected cross that I think got blocked. It was a really good block in the end because it looked goal-bound. That was an opportunity he had. He had another shot from long range, which was well saved by the goalkeeper. But the two biggest opportunities came both for Delano Bergzorg and Tommy Conway. The biggest probably to Bergzorg. He was slipped in from the left-hand side. He took a touch to his right. I don't know if it was Iheanacho, maybe I think it was Illing Jr. actually who played him in. And Bergzorg should do better. He's leaning back. If he gets it on target, he likely scores. He absolutely skies it over the bar, and a glorious chance goes begging. And Tommy Conway also had another big opportunity in that left-sided channel. He was played in really well, should have took it with his left foot, decided to cut in onto his right, and that allowed time for the defence to get back in position and make a really crucial block. So Boro really should have been well up in this game. We should have had QPR dead and buried, but we didn't, because we didn't take our opportunities, and we were nearly made to pay for it, because I wouldn't say QPR created anything clear-cut at all in the first half, barring a few half opportunities here and there, but they had a giant chance right at the end of the first half, and it was a giant let-off for Boro, really. They played the ball across from the right-hand side really, really well. Their left-back pal got away from Delano Bergzorg, who sort of fell asleep and lost his runner. Pal was in on goal, bearing down 1v1, slip it either side of Mark Travers, and it's 1-1, and Boro are going in to half-time, no doubt, with an extremely frustrated, not toxic, but berated Riverside crowd, wondering how on earth have you managed to, never mind go in 2 or 3 up, but go in level, having conceded late on. Thankfully for Boro, somehow the fullback side-footed it completely off target and put it wide of the goal, and that was a giant let-off for Boro at the very, very end of the first half. Would it have been harsh? Yes, but Boro should have been more ahead. We should have been 2 or 3 up. We should have put the game away. We didn't. This time, thankfully, we weren't made to pay for it, when on many other occasions, maybe, we would have. So we can count our lucky stars a little bit there. And in the second half, I thought Boro started pretty well again. I wouldn't say we created as many clear-cut opportunities as to what we did in the first half, but we continued to have more of the ball. We continued to probe. We continued to look for that second goal to really ensure that the game was ours. And on 58 minutes, Anthony Dijksteel got his 3rd goal of the season in a very similar fashion to how he did against Leeds at the very start of the season, when we, of course, went to Leeds in the AFL Cup first round and battered them, played them off the park, and quite honestly thought we were going to win the league with how we played that day. But Dijksteel's goal was very similar to the one he scored that day against Leeds United. Got the ball on the right-hand side. We see Dijksteel do this a lot. He cuts in, beats one, beats another, and then with his left foot, he calmly rolled it into the far corner. A really good goal for Dijksteel. His first, I think, ever at the Riverside as well. And Boro finally got that little bit of breathing space that we deserved, warranted, should have already had. But it gave us a cushion, and it made you think surely the game was out of QPR's grasp. But of course, in Boro fashion, we still find a way to make it incredibly nervy for ourselves. QPR did come back into the game. They had a little bit more possession as the game went on. I wouldn't say they troubled Boro. They had a couple of set pieces, crosses. They really did look a threat from long throw-ins. I think Travers was forced into one decent save to his right in the second half. But I wouldn't say QPR put us under much pressure in terms of clear-cut chances that they created. But out of the blue, they did get themselves back in the game on the 80th minute, and it come from Steve Cook. And I mentioned in my preview how much of a physical threat they can be from set pieces. Jimmy Dunn particularly is a huge threat. He makes a huge difference. He's got goals and assists this season, and you can add another assist to his numbers here. And this was what I expected QPR to do more of. I'm surprised they didn't try and target Boro aerially and really put our mishmash of a back four under more pressure, with the centre-halves, of course, being nowhere near as physically strong or as tall as Frey, for example, who was up front. But it took them till the 80th minute to really sort of make effect of that and make use of that. A cross or a corner may have been coming from the left-hand side. To no surprise, Jimmy Dunn, who is the guy they aimed for, they hit, they got him. He got the first contact free at the back post, headed it back into the area. Steve Cook had a simple toe poke into the far corner. And again, as we've seen many times this season, out of the blue, again, Boro were comfortably in charge of one you think we should win from. You can never be too sure with this team. And it led to a relatively nervy final 10 minutes. Carrick did make a couple of changes to his credit to shore the game up a little bit. He brought Force and Whittaker on prior to their goal, but then afterwards brought on Dan Barlasser to give us a midfield three. He also then brought Ryan Giles to give us a little bit more on the left-hand side. So he did try and shore up the victory, which was good to see. And they almost scored an equaliser in what would have been the most typical Boro fashion ever. Now, we've conceded some unbelievable goals this season, and we've done some unthinkable things this season. We've had defenders and keepers collide, leading to the opposition having tap-ins. We've misplaced back passes, leading to them having 1v1s with our goalkeeper. We've literally had defenders headbutt one another and then failed to clear their lines, allowing Preston to score one of the most hilarious winners you've ever seen. And we also had Ryan Giles pass the ball in the back of his own net, losing us the Tees Weir derby. The one thing we've not had is the opposition's goalkeeper scoring against us. Thank God the typical Boro script wasn't quite written in that way in this game, but it nearly was, because QPR got a throw-in, I think it was, at the very, very death. The referee played an extra minute on from the 95 that was given, and the goalkeeper got a free header from about 6 yards out, and it would have just been another one on the typical Boro bingo card of, just when you think you've seen everything, this would have been a spectacular way to throw 2 points away. I dread to think what would have been the reaction had this happened. Thankfully, the goalkeeper headed it straight down into the arms of his opposite number, and Matt Travers made a comfortable save, and the game and the result was made sure of, and Boro did come away with the 3 points. Again, in typical Boro fashion, we never make it easy. We always make it a little bit nervy for ourselves, but unlike other times this season where we have thrown results away, we didn't on this occasion, and we did come away with what I think is undoubtedly a deserved 3 points, because the game should have quite honestly been miles away from QPR's reach well before they even got back into the game, way before the second half probably even came around, if I'm honest. So, a good performance by Boro. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't right back to our very best, but we didn't have to be, because QPR, I thought, were very, very poor. I thought they were very, very poor in possession. They finally sort of offered the threat I thought they would, a lot more frequently from the likes of their long throw-ins and their set pieces, but thankfully Boro had themselves in a good position by that point, and a win's a win. And of course, I'm going to take it. I'm happy with it. Looking at it in isolation, very, 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 very well done from the boys. I think especially given the fact we had a makeshift defence, there are actually some real positives to come out of it, which we'll talk about in a bit. But of course, I remain extremely cautious, because this would not be the first. In fact, I don't even think it would be the 10th or 15th time that Boro have won a game, got you feeling positive, and let you down in the next game. So I'm not going to feel any sort of emotion one way or the other until we've got beyond the Oxford game, because I set out that I wanted Boro to win at least 3 of them 4 games. We've won 1. We still need to win the next 2, I think, to properly consider ourselves in the fight for the P word, with a running of games that, trust me, is far, far tougher than what we had tonight. So, looking at the lineup then and discussing a couple of the performances, I think the back 4 did really well. Now, were they tested massively? No. Could they have come across much tougher attacks? Yes. I thought the 2 wingers that QPR had were extremely ineffective. Ilias Chair didn't really have much of an effect either and went off injured at the start of the second half. Frey, I don't think, was as effective as I thought he would be up against Borges and Howson. So don't get me wrong, I'm not going to talk up this defensive 4 like they've just kept a clean sheet against Leeds United, but they had an opposition, they had a test in front of them, they've never played together before, they're all playing pretty much out of position, barring maybe Dijksteel. So, yeah, a clean sheet sadly didn't come their way tonight, but they were a part of a winning team, and I thought they looked pretty solid from the outlet. Neto Borges continues to be in fantastic form. He really has been a revelation, really, in that centre-back role. He was doing well prior to that at left-back, to be honest, and I was worried when he got slotted into centre-back that maybe that would have the alternative, effect on him, because I thought he was just getting comfortable at left-back, and moving him into centre-half might have been a problem for him, but he's excelled further. He looks just as if not even more comfortable at left centre-half, and has just done really, really well in the past 5 or 6 games and continues to improve, and I'm really, really happy for Neto Borges for that. Johnny Howson, ever reliable, did really well alongside him. Of course, Johnny can sort of play here, there and everywhere, and again, if he was up against an extremely pacey forward with quick players around him, that would have been a different test and one that would have really worried me. But tonight, I thought he dealt well with what was in front of him and did well alongside Neto Borges. Of course, Dijksteel had a better game to what he has done in recent weeks. He's looked a bit shaky at times, but again, wasn't going up against the best of wingers, held his own fairly easily and took his goal really well. And Illing Jr., I thought, had maybe his best Boro display at left back. I really, really liked him there. It is more of the natural position we've seen him play at Bologna and Juventus, I believe. So whereas Boro have been trying to shoehorn him in on the right and he's just looked like a fish out of water, here at left back he looked way more comfortable. And he played a similar role to what Borges has played in the past at left back. He inverted quite a bit and made some really good runs inside and was really effective, going forwards, but also has really good recovery pace to track back and defend well as well. So I thought Elling Jr. had his best performance in a Boro shirt, and I saw real positives between him and Borges on that left-hand side. I'm not going to get too excited again, but maybe Boro have stumbled across something okay, considering the injury crisis that we've had. I thought Hackney and Morris did well. Again, they'll go up against tougher midfields this season, but I think they were much better and they dictated play far better. Morris had a quieter game, which I think is probably better, given the fact that his form's been a bit up and down over the last few games. But Hayden Hackney did really well tonight. He had some really good driving runs. He was much more reassured in possession. Could have had a goal or two as well. And the front four did well. I thought they were much better and far more effective than what they were against Swansea. Again, is it because, a bit like with Stoke and Derby, they were allowed a little bit more time and space to do what they wanted with the ball, whereas Swansea, of course, pressed us really, really hard and we struggled to deal with it. But I thought Azaz, given the time and space, we know what he can do. Had a good assist from the left-hand side. Iheanacho linked up play really well, and I thought had a decent game as well, to be fair to him. Bergzog did well as well. I thought he was good on the right-hand side this time, and of course Tommy Conway took his goal pretty well. Nothing really of note from the substitutes who come on. None of them really had much time to have the desired impact. And then we look at the stats, and it was a very deserved win for Boro, I would say. QPR, as you can see, did have chances. Boro's XG was higher, but we had more shots, the same number of shots on target. They actually had more big chances than what we did. I wonder if their two big chances was both the PAL 1v1 in the first half and the goalkeeper's header at the end of the second. But Boro took their opportunities when they came, or took enough of them when they came. We certainly could have had more, but we did steer away from a potential sucker blow, because had QPR equalised at the end there, it would have been just typical of Boro's season and would have been like a boot in the bollocks, given the fact results around us were going so well for us. And that leads me on to finishing with the table, because quite honestly, I don't think we could have asked for a better round of results tonight. But it depends how you look at it, because Bristol City and West Brom, they technically dropped 2 points tonight. So you go, well, that's great for Boro. We've gained 2 points on Bristol City and 2 points on West Brom. But then on the other hand, I think they've had great results, to be honest. Yeah, Boro have gained on them, but West Brom went to Burnley and drew. Bristol City went to Sheffield United and drew. So they've both passed significant tests and remained in a pretty good position, I would say. Boro would need to do the same when we maybe play Leeds at home in a few weeks' time. When we face these tough tests, we have to make sure we come away with a point like our rivals have done. It's okay and all good us beating a team who've been in terrible form at home and them getting a point, but although we've gained ground on them, I still feel like their results in respect of their opponents are just as good as ours, and we then have to match that when they have easier games, when we have tougher ones. So I'm happy we've gained ground, of course, but I still feel like they've come away with positive results, albeit the gap has closed. The big one is probably Coventry, whose winning run and fantastic run has sort of not come to an end, because they might get straight back on the horse after this, but they've suffered their first defeat in, I think, 10 games, losing to Derby 2-0, which is a big surprise. So that's sort of brought Coventry back down to earth with a bit of a bump and puts Boro within 3 points of the places, which I will not say. But again, Boro have closed the gap. That's all well and good, but, we got within a few points a couple of games ago. Then we dropped the shocker at Swansea. We have won 3 of our last 5. I'm not going to take anything away from the team, but the 3 teams we beat were all very, very poor. QPR, that's 4 defeats in a row for them. They looked abject. Stoke and Derby looked absolutely awful. So, yeah, Boro have won the games they should, but we still need to start picking up points in other games where we're playing teams that are maybe in the slight bracket above. The Swansea away game, for example, was still a disgraceful performance. The Bristol City away performance was terrible. Our away form in general is still absolutely terrible. So there are still way more things that I need to see from this Boro team before I trust them, and that's been the story of the season as a whole. Will it change? Probably not. There's been nothing to suggest it will change for the last 4 months now, because Boro can't string more than 2 wins together at any given time. So, as I say, we still need to see something from Boro that we've not seen since November. We are in the 3-game spell now, though, to which we did see that in November. The last time we beat 3 teams in a row, it come in the order of QPR, Luton and Oxford. We've beat QPR. Who's up next? Luton and Oxford. So maybe the same 3 teams and maybe the same 3 outcomes will maybe put Boro in a position where we enter the final 7 games with something to play for. And that's good, because the last thing I wanted was this season to feel like it was over with still a large chunk of it left. If we can hang on in there for as long as possible, then at least it keeps the flame alive, it keeps the flame bright, and Boro's season alive to some extent. Do I believe in them last 7 games we'll do enough to get top 6? Hand on heart, no I don't. I look at trips to Blackburn, Millwall, Sheffield Wednesday and Coventry and feel incredibly sceptical of what we might get there, given our away form has been absolutely dreadful for a long time now. I am feeling more confident, though, that we will get the results we need at home. Oxford and Plymouth are to come at the Riverside, and I'd like to think the way we're playing, we will get the better of them too. I think it's when we've got the visit of Leeds and Norwich that will prove really, really tough tests. So listen, I'm happy with the victory. I'll take it in isolation, but there's still a lot of tough tests to come and a lot of things I need to see from Boro before I feel anywhere near comfortable. The gap's down to 3. There's every chance it could close. There's every chance it could grow. Let's see what we do against Luton and Oxford before looking ahead to that really, really big 7-game run-in. But until then, if you've enjoyed the video, do hit a like on it and subscribe for much more. Of course, we review and preview every single Boro game here on the channel, and I will be back in a couple of days to preview the game down at Luton, which may have sounded like an easy game a few weeks ago, but Luton are on a mini revival, I'll be honest. They've went to Cardiff and won tonight. I think that's only their possibly 2nd away win of the whole season, so they'll be on an absolute high from that. They also got a home win against Pompey a few games back, so they've started winning games, which hasn't happened for a very, very long time. So banana skin is what I'm thinking when I look at the Luton game. A big, big banana skin. So that's no guarantee at all. And another performance like Swansea will bring us right back down to earth. So a lot of work to be done, game by game. I'll be back to preview that one in a few days' time. But until then, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below of this video. And of course, if you'd rather listen to these over on your chosen podcast provider, you can do so via links in the description. But until then, guys, do take care. And I'll see you all in a few days' time as we look ahead to Boro's trip down to Luton Town. I'll see you all in the next one.